Hey folks, Lucas Ballahood here with Coldwell Banker RMR Real Estate and the Ballahood Group. Welcome to this week's episode of Finance Fridays. I'm joined by my lovely co-host with RBC, Alexandra Job. Alex, how are you?
I'm good, Luke. How are you?
Not doing too bad. I feel like I'm running by the seat of my pants this week. My wife and her company are getting ready for a big event this week. As you see
Oh
here
yeah.
in the top right corner, RRI is Richard Robbins International. So they're getting ready for a big conference next week. Coincidentally, my kid's daycare is closed. So I'm on
Oh,
full-time dad duty this week and been having lots of fun with that for sure.
that's
So,
a big juggle. That's a lot of
oh
juggle.
God, and especially when I'm not usually the lead on that, I really appreciate my wife on days like today. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. How about you?
I'm covering two desks, myself, and then my mom's in the business as well. So she's on vacation, and I've got my client files to take care of and hers. So it's been really busy, but that's
Double
okay.
duty this week we're pulling.
Double duty.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me today. I think what we wanted to jump on now is this will be released on Remembrance Day, certainly acknowledging all those who lost their lives and have given themselves to our country. Certainly, just mention that quickly, but lots happened in the last little bit here. We did have a rate announcement since our last recording, and the Durham Region Association of Realtors had also released their market stats for the month of October, and we saw some changes, certainly across the board in both of those sectors. Do you want to touch on RBC quickly first?
Yeah, well, we just had an announcement. Well, it came out today. It's sort of secretive actually until it's formally posted. But I can say that our fixed pricing is changing next week. We have a bank holiday for Friday, so it won't take effect until Tuesday. That gives us a little bit of time. If you have anyone in the pipeline that's thinking about buying, they want to lock their rates in now. It's changing from the 1 to the 5 year fixed, and anywhere from 10 to 15 basis point swing. But I mean, it affects their end payment, and that comes for clients that are renewing with RBC as well. So it's just a good idea to just be on top of it. Don't say, oh, I'll talk to them next week, because just look at that. Suddenly we see a change, and we can't backdate. So we've got to get it in the system and lock down. It came from CIBC raising their interest rates either today or yesterday, and we're going to follow. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, totally right. And with the announcement from the Bank of Canada, we knew this was coming. So it sounds like now it's going to take effect next week. So certainly, folks, if you are in the process or thinking about getting pre-approved or you need to refinance all those things, let's get this done before the rates go up. So Alex, you could have a busy afternoon in for you here. Apologies. But anyways, they won't see this report until tomorrow. Anyway, so yeah, and obviously there's lots going on that's going to increase people's, I was going to say borrowing power. No, it's going to decrease their borrowing power a little bit, increase their lending costs, right? And we've seen that also take some effect into the real estate market as well as, home values have come down about $22,000, if my memory serves me, from September. We're now at $893,000 on average for the sale price. So compared to last October, we were at 988. So it's, it was just under $100,000 shift year over year there. Our sales are down about 40% compared to last year. Our inventories, in terms of what's on the market, has about tripled, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's the number of listings hitting the market is close to on par, but they're not moving as fast,
Mhm.
and there's fewer people in the market, which is a reflection of those interest rates. So,
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now. Prices again, we were at 901 in I think June, and we're at 893 now. So fast forward 4 months, and we're holding a decent rate. We haven't the bottom's not falling out like you're seeing a lot of the stories and the narratives in the media right now. So that's a positive outlook in the short term. In the long term, we've been talking about this a little bit or quite a bit in the last while. And I think we gained some really valuable insights from the RBC Global Asset Management event we were at there last week together.
Yeah.
So, what were some of the big highlights from you? I would certainly want to share some of the things I found really important from that
Sure.
event. But you guys did a great job up there at Deer Creek Golf Club, and it was a wonderful time, and certainly learned a lot. But what were the highlights from you?
Well, one of the things that hit home with me that the speaker mentioned when we just sort of summarized what went on from the pandemic, how she used that example, like when you walk into the water with a beach ball and it's here. The pandemic hits. I mean, they did a lot of, when they were looking at their data and numbers, they did a lot from pandemic and forward. And then,
Mhm.
of course, comparing it to different times in history. But let's talk about that chapter. And it's like walking into a pool with a beach ball. You hold it under the water. The markets are shut down. Everything is to a halt, right? They talk about
To
supply
give
chain.
context for people here, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Alex, but this is sort of, we were looking at the performance of, I think it was the SP 500 stock market in the
Mhm.
US, and they were looking at its performance over the last 30 years, and they took little checkpoints at, well, 2008 was one, 2017 was another, and then recently March 2020 was another trigger point, or mark on the graph that they highlighted, because that's where that, as you mentioned, everything in the market stopped March 2020 when COVID, basically shut down the world, right?
And it affects our markets in so many different ways, right? Multiple markets, the economy, because we're a global economy. It's not just Canada, it's globalization,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
take that beach ball, you hold it under the water. What happens when, pandemic is not over, but kind of lightens up? You let go of that ball, the world, it skyrockets, right? And but does it stay here? No, it eventually will fall back down to the water. But this is just what we're seeing. This like some, the dip down, the skyrocket up, and then the leveling it out. And I loved that because it's just simple terms and it gives you that visual, right?
Yeah, and there was this trend line, and what Alex is referring to here. So this pre-pandemic trend line was going like this in front of my face here, up across my shoulders, and essentially, actually, this is going to be perfect. When the pandemic hit around this side of my chin, right, that's where the bubble started, and it went, and basically the market just skyrocketed in terms of the values of things in the economy and just basically how wild the market went. It was a big blip. And now we're back over here in terms of the timeline, and it's likely on the trajectory where it should have been should that bubble not had occurred, right?
Right.
So, the takeaway for me, at least the discussion point, was that this was kind of a useful, let's call it recession, or sort of pullback in the market, because it was really unnatural, that bump we saw where my hair is really poofy. It went, and that was really unnatural, right? That wasn't something that we should have seen, and that's why the market went so crazy,
Yeah.
and things kind of were the way they were. Money was virtually free during that period of time, so the spending in the economy went wild. Inflation, as a result, has gone way up. So interest rates have gone up to try and pull that inflation back down and that spending, and it seems to have done that. Fast forward
Yeah.
2 years into the end of 2022. So if rates hold, or at least don't rise so much in December and into January of 23, kind of what we've been predicting is that rates will start to come down at the end of next year, right?
Yeah, and I love that grid talking about kind of what the likelihood of outcomes would be, and one was like, what was the word? Like nightmare situation, and it was
Yeah.
10%. So, I mean, there are those people that fall in that bucket where they're like, this is a nightmare, this is crazy. And it's not all that crazy with the recession and the indicators that a recession is there, and it or some things are already in like recession kind of time frame. It's not so bad, and I think we're going to get through it if we can just just hang on. It's not always going to be hopefully this price. That nightmare situation was like rates continue to go up, employment issues and things like that, and they keep going and going. Cost of borrowing continues, but with what's happening and where the rates are right now, and a little bit more of a push, I think we'll have things under control, and then we can come back to normal, right?
It's funny you're talking about, like, just the different variables that they were looking at, the different indicators and different markets and things. Now that's over my head, and I didn't take any photos, so I can't go back and exactly what all those variables were that they were measuring to say, okay, this is an indicator that yes, we're in a
Yeah,
recession, or this is
right.
not, and blah blah blah, right? But the unemployment numbers, unemployment is super low. I don't know if it's a record or not, but it's really low right now. If you're going around to restaurants and different things, they have to close them because they can't staff the restaurant or the whatever the business is. They're having trouble. So, employment is either really low, and people have decided to do other things. It's one of these weird things going on in the economy right now where the government doesn't want unemployment to be as low as it is. For why, I don't exactly know. And I need to gain more insight into that, into those systems, I guess. But it's really interesting to see the different factors that these economists are taking into consideration when they're making their predictions, and it was a really incredible event to sit and learn from. So for anybody who does have means to invest in, they should certainly get in touch with RBC about their global asset management program.
Yeah, and the takeaway was just connecting our clients in need, whether they're your centers of influence or your clients, to a financial advisor, financial planner, investment and retirement planner, and we have the connections to do that. So
Yeah, no, it was an incredible event, and I certainly learned a lot, and gives me some, I can rest easy or in peace here, kind of knowing that this is going to be a bit of a short-term thing. So, in light of all that, what we've learned the last little while, is there any advice you'd give to folks that are in a position where maybe they've got a refinance coming up in the next 3 to 6 months?
if you're refinancing, I think it's really important to just look at, you get clients that are carrying credit card debt 19%, and then they've got their car payments and stuff. So sure, if your mortgage is going up when it comes time for renewal, maybe it is time to like revisit everything as a whole. I've got clients that have funds sitting on secured lines of credit that's at prime plus 0.5, that's sitting in the 6.5% range, which at one point, when rates are closer to 2%, it was very comfortable to carry. So if that's getting an uncomfortable feeling for you, is hey, we're overstretching ourselves, let's revisit it and reamortize, all your debt into one. Sometimes that's the solution, right?
Mhm.
And we can look at all terms. So even if there's a penalty, sometimes if you're with another financial institution, we can do a cash incentive where we're covering the cost to switch in and then a little bit of extra to lighten that load of the breakage cost. So yeah, we've got to look at everyone's situation. So no hesitation. If you want to review things with me, by all means, you can get in touch with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I was thinking about, jumping into other tendencies of clients and stuff like that right now, but I think we're going to get too stretched out in
Okay,
this discussion, so maybe we'll save it for another day.
sure.
But with that, the fact we've got to go over briefly where the market's been at in October. I mean, Halloween, how was that? I got dressed up as Clark Kent. We had Spider-Man and Batman in our house,
It's a
so
lot
I
of
was, yeah, no kidding, right? What did you guys pull off?
I sat back and did the door duty, but I had to get everyone ready. Lots of makeup. I think everyone had a wig. No, I did 3 out of 4 in wigs, and they were the Little Mermaid crew, so it was really fun. They love it.
Oh,
It's great
awesome.
memories for the kids.
Awesome, awesome. Well, yeah, we had a bunch of trick-or-treaters too, and had some family come over, so I got to take the boys out while, again, my wife was at home doing door duty, and made a couple laps around our court. It's not too big here, but my 3-year-old, once he sees something that scares him, he's like, "Oh no, I'm done, going home. See you later." But we made it further this year than we did last, so it was a
Good.
proud dad moment for me. We had fun. He wasn't
Good
scared
for
this
you.
time, so it was great.
That's awesome. Next up, Christmas.
That's right. Don't even get me started. My tree is already up. I lost that discussion. It was not even a discussion. It was just a one-way. This is what we're doing, and we're doing it today.
That happens.
Married life at its best. Well, Alex, wonderful to catch up with you here, and folks, if you have any questions about your finances or your mortgage, anything like that, make sure to give Alex a call. Her information will be at the end of this video. You'll find mine there as well. So thank you so much for joining. Feel free to like, subscribe, and follow along on all those social channels we're on. And have yourselves a wonderful rest of your week. Bye for now.
Bye.